And the Ghanaian Times, clock sack strike cripples government work. MDAs, MMDAs offices closed. Clients stranded. Clock sack is on strike, but still we are feeling the traffic. So if they resume from, let's add 5% to the traffic. Now, 5 dead in renewed violence at Binyeri. This is a very sad story from Binyeri. And Ghana welcomes African diaspora as citizens. We say congratulations to all the freshly minted Ghanaians. Akwaba. And Commonwealth Day, Ghana reaffirms commitment to global peace and democracy. If you go to the back page of the Ghanaian Times, Japan funds $129,000 school project for Tari number 2 primary and step up the fight against HPV cervical cancer. This is Professor Obriyabua during her inaugural lecture at UCC.
Great. Now, the daily guide for this morning says NSA scandal. AG hits Osesibe with 7 more charges. Gifty Owari opposes witness list order. Pastor defiles 13-year-old church member. And 5 arrested over Liberian man lynching. Young innovators pitch at Changemakers Challenge. And gold diversification, not loss of national assets. Governor of the Bank of Ghana.
If you go to the National Enquirer, government bans land transit of rice, sugar, others. Everything must come through the port. And yesterday we had a conversation about Ghana attaining food sovereignty and stuff like sugar, for example. 99% of the sugar we eat in the country is imported. So what happens to Commander? What smart strategies do we have to ensure sugar is produced here?
I saw an advertisement for partnership, for the management of the, I think, Volta Star Textile, Commander Sugar Factory, Northern Star. There's a 4th one. I think it's Akosabo Textile.
And as we also invest more in coconut plantations, the government has been on a roll when it comes to coconut plantation, giving a lot of seedlings. We need to also start thinking of tapping the coconut sap to make sugar, to make sweetener, the coconut sweetener. The opportunities to diversify when it comes to the sweetener space. Let's produce more honey as well and reduce our sugar imports so that people eat more natural sweetness. So government bans land transit of rice, sugar, others. That's the National Enquirer. Ghana's cocoa gamble. Why paying farmers double Ivory Coast price? Maybe smart economics, not betrayal. Now, government hopes to clear cocoa farmer arrears within a few weeks. This is Peter Boama. Otokuno and GIS exchange rate disparity raises questions over service fee charges. This story has the photo of Controller General of Immigration Samuel Basintali Amadou. And Finance Minister set to grant clearance for NSA recruitment to address staff shortage. And Ghana tightens diamond export controls under Kimberley process review.
Now, Kwame Sowu sends this message. It says, even the universities must do a lot more online. The traffic around GIMPA, UPSA, and the stress on students will reduce. It will save them money too. I agree. COVID taught us a lot of things. But again, we always want to go back. Anyway, the insight for today says, revealed Britain's role in attack on Cyprus, Venezuela, and Iran. SMG calls for women's liberation. Okay, so the socialist movement of Ghana is calling for women's liberation and global solidarity on International Women's Day. Parliament pushes for ecocide law as MPs rally to protect Ghana's environment. BOG's 17 billion Ghana city stabilization effort drives inflation down to 3.3%. That's Governor Siama. And Kwesi Pratt mourns with Iran, signs book of condolence over U.S.-Israel killing of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Race for Aid, Ghana, country director Imam Mutawakil Abubakar, honored by GES and Tolon District Assembly.
On the Clocksack strike, the catalyst says Clocksack punishes Mahama for the sins of Akufo-Addo. And Ghana steps up evacuation and diplomacy as Middle East war escalates. I read online, is it the UK, that they have only 2 days of gas left. I need to verify that particular story. And a lot of countries are actually also thinking of actually making workers work remotely. a lot of...
I mean, it's the best thing to do now.
Not because of traffic, but in this case, because of energy challenges. Schools are having to close earlier for the Eid festivities. Children are being asked to stay home for vacation and all those things. And it's going to hit us too.
Yeah.
So let's really think about how to work on this. And government bans land transit of key goods to protect revenue.
Now, the Daily Graphic says government bans 9 land transit goods, the one you just talked about. 155 granted Ghanaian citizenship. DDEP put pressure on banks' balance sheets. That's the governor of the Bank of Ghana. And Ghana reaffirms commitment to conflict-free diamond trade. Let's get to the back page. Ghana records 1,038 Mpox cases with 8 deaths. 5 dead, others injured in clash at Benyiri is also on the back page.
And if you go to the Economic Times, Ghana's banking sector remains solid as inflation plummets to record 3.3%. There's a photo of Dr. Johnson Esiama, governor of the Bank of Ghana. And 5G digital telecom services commence in Ghana, but competition now inevitable. And ex-Cocoa Board boss to face scrutiny in 32.9 billion Ghana cedi liabilities and snubbing audit queries. That story is the Economic Times.
Well, the Spider newspaper.
Good morning, Francis Obrikran.
Says
our friend, also called Spider.
Black Coffee. OMC's ICUMS trade blows over looming fuel shortage. Ghana's garment industry set for massive growth under 24-hour economy. Expert urges government action. Ghana records 1,038 Mpox cases, 8 deaths. Government covers all medical bills. ECG cable theft syndicate busted. Please arrest 10 in major Tema industrial raid. And grassroots anger boils in NDC. President Mahama and Asiedu Nketia accused of betraying loyal foot soldiers. You know, this conversation and it's part of our problem as a people. Look, for some people, their campaign for political parties to come into office is the belief in ideology. For others, is the belief that they would get jobs.
Yeah, the chop must change hands.
Exactly. Look, I've come across people who say the only reason they support a change in government after every 8 years is that we must create new people to chop money. Can you imagine that? I mean, that's what they think about.
We must change the direction of the national cake.
Yes.
But not for the people, but into people's pockets.
You see? But I have also maintained that if you go around campaigning and you make promises to people, fulfill it.
Yeah. You promise to give them jobs?
Please give them the jobs.
You promise to give them roads?
Give them the roads.
You promise to make food prices stable?
Otherwise, you should be apologizing to them. So, I mean, over the last 24 hours, a lot of I've seen a lot of foot soldier anger on social media.
Yeah.
And I think, was it someone shared videos of host of Ekusi saying, Philip Osebunsu saying, you know, there are people you use to win elections and there are people who are
you used to govern.
And people who are used to govern. It is true. Look, it is true. There are some people who will be used to do the legwork. There are others who would raise the money for the legwork. So for those who do the legwork, when the party comes into office, they would assign you to people to continuously help you. Okay? Sometimes you may not get into office. Or sometimes you come up with an idea that, oh, or maybe I have, I want to sell this, or I want to, buy a car, or I want to open a shop. If you're fortunate, they would help you to do that.
Yeah.
Years ago, I remember something my late father told me, that someone walked up to him and said, oh, and he says, Nanya unesi mimva ungusi yaka kanya mediwako ya. Ose nede mikusi ya netoka mamia. Nede mikusi yaka ka toka ne prekwen.
Intimidoko Medical School, Amisi Hospital cow.
No. Ose, the guy says he wants to be a driver. And you've taken him to driving school.
You didn't say I wanted to be a cow, I want to be a driver.
But if he is finished, you should help him to own a car so he can drive. Anyway, let's go online.
And my job online, local mining firms face discrimination under new royalty regime. This is Steve Mantel. And this morning, Reuters published a story on our new loyalty scale, pointing to the fact that a lot of countries are not happy. The US, China, they are all not happy that we want to do this, and they rather want us to increase the threshold from $4,500 per ounce to $5,000 per ounce. But the state says no, this is our new regulation, you are going to stick by it. I want the state to stick by it so that we get more money. Now, Ghana lost billions by delaying windfall tax on mining. This is Steve Mantial still speaking. Tema Oil Refinery plans capacity boost to 45,000 barrels per day. This is good news. And Labour Minister appeals to Clocksack to call off strike amid ongoing talks. And we're also appealing to him to get employers together to find better ways employees and Ghanaians can work without going through all the stress you are going through. And Star Oil refuses to apologize over ICUMS fuel disruption claims. There's an event which is coming off next week, which I believe everybody should attend. Agrotech Fair, to spotlight local agric machinery, agro-processing equipment, and cutting-edge technologies. This is the Exim Bank CEO. If you want to start a side hustle, which will become your full hustle, you need to be at the Agrotech Fair to see what is possible. And CID recovers over 100 tons of ECG stolen cables in Tema raid. The IGP has also explained the withdrawal of the Special Operations Task Force from Tamale. And last week, was it? Last week we spoke to people in Tamale, and they said they were appealing to the IGP to keep the task force. But the IGP's explanation is also on My Joy Online.
Okay, let's go to citynewsroom.com.
City Newsroom, BOG will stick to data-driven policy to stabilize the economy. This is Isiama. And SIM registration alone won't stop fraud. Telecoms Chamber CEO Baba Jamal to be sworn in as Ayawasu East MP. Congrats to him. And Senior Hosi, Ghana not at immediate risk of fuel shortage. And on the motorway expansion, engineers consider alternative routes to ease Tetekwashi gridlock. Those are the stories.